Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call to order the Arvada City Council meeting for today, Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. I will call upon Mayor Pro Tem Mormon for a moment of silence and the pledge.
Please join me for a moment of silence. And now please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Rush, if you'll do the roll call.
Mayor Simpson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon?
Here.
Councilmember Ambrose?
Here.
Councilmember Davis?
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Here.
Councilmember Marriott?
Here.
Councilmember Rupert?
Here.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the minutes as amended for February 3rd and February 10th. Are there any additional council corrections or actions? Seeing none, those stand approved as amended. And next, we have recognitions and communications. First, I will call upon Councilmember Ambrose for the presentation of the after-prom checks.
Thank you, Mayor. If the Arvada High School Principal Carolyn Frazee, sorry if I say your name wrong, could come up. Arvada West High School up at the podium here. Principal Micah Porter and Community Relations Specialist Noah Sims-Desco. Pomona High School Principal Patrick Rock. Ralston Valley High School Principal Micah Buening. This one isn't hard, Buening. Stanley Lake High School accepted by Principal Todd Rago. Each year at this time, the City Council acknowledges the partnerships of school staff, parents, and local business, Arvada school resource officers, and others who join together a free, safe place for high school students to meet after prom. With elaborate decorations and creative themes, high schools are transformed into imaginative places for students to gather. All night and into the early morning, they eat, play games, win prizes, and safely party with friends at no cost. These after-school prom parties provide a safe alternative to high-risk behaviors. Each school has a committee of parent volunteers who spend countless hours collecting donations, planning, preparing for, and staffing these events. It is estimated that each school hosts nearly 500 students, which impacts nearly 2,500 teens at after-prom parties. Tonight, we recognize the committee representatives from our local high schools who are committed to making these events a success on behalf of young people in Arvada, and present each of the high schools with a cash donation. Thank you.
We'll do a quick photo. Thank you. If anyone would like to come up and say a few words, you're very welcome to. Nope. It's been a long day for them too, school day. All right. Thank you all so much for what you do for our local youth. I remember my after prom actually. It was a lot of fun. So next I will call upon Proclamation for Women's History Month, Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. Will Christina Manthe, President of the League of Women Voters of Jefferson County, and other members please step to the podium? Awesome. So I will read the proclamation. Whereas Women's History Month is celebrated each year in March to honor the many contributions of women throughout history who have made a lasting impact on our community, nation, and the world. And whereas this month serves as an opportunity to highlight the diverse achievements and contributions of women in all fields, including the arts, sciences, politics, business, education, and social justice. And whereas we are proud to celebrate the women in our community who continue to break barriers, inspire future generations, and shape the course of history through their leadership, vision, and dedication. And whereas we are proud of the many continued partnerships in Arvada, like the League of Women Voters of Jefferson County, that continue to invest in the growth and development of a diverse, equitable, and vibrant future for our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council for the City of Arvada that the month of March 2025 be designated as Women's History Month and urge all residents to celebrate the accomplishments of the women throughout history and honor those who continue to shape our future. Dated this 4th day of March, 2025.
Thank you for honoring the league in this way. We appreciate it very much. And thank you for acknowledging we're just not a piece of history. We are an active living group of women and men that are concerned about democracy today. Yes, we register people to vote, but we also watch our government in action. And yes, we take active positions on issues of modern concern, and we lobby on those issues. Our democracy and the work we have done for 105 years appears to be under challenge. We are here tonight to demonstrate that we are a beacon of light in a world that is concerned about democracy, and that by being a beacon, we intend to continue our work. Democracy is the power of the people. It begins with us, our voices, and our votes. Democracy is a story of hope. It is the belief that ordinary people can come together to create extraordinary change. We know that our democracy is resilient. Together we can build a future where every voice is heard and every vote is counted and every person is an active participant in our society. Thank you again for this award.
Thank you very much. And finally, I will call upon Councilmember Marriott for their certificate of recognition for Arvada's recertification as a silver level bicycle friendly community.
So I'm going to invite up Kelly Van Bruggen, as well as members of Bike Friendly Arvada and Bike Jeffco, if you'll come on up to the podium. The League of American Bicyclists has recognized the City of Arvada's ongoing commitment to enhancing bicycling conditions by awarding the city the Silver Level Bike Friendly Community designation. Arvada has proudly maintained its bicycle-friendly community status since 2008 and achieved the Silver Level in 2014, reflecting a sustained dedication to promoting bicycling as a viable and safe mode of transportation and recreation. This recertification places Arvada among 460 communities nationwide, including 21 in Colorado, that are leading the movement for safer streets and better bicycling opportunities for all. The city has demonstrated its commitment through investments in bike education programs, infrastructure improvements, and events that encourage residents to choose biking, thereby fostering a culture of health, sustainability, and connectivity. Arvada's efforts align with the goals outlined in the city's bicycle master plan, aiming to make biking a safe, accessible, and enjoyable option for people of all ages and abilities. The city is proud to recognize the hard work of the many city team members and community partners who contributed to the recertification process. A special thank you to the transportation planning team for their leadership and the community groups and local cycling advocates who volunteer their time to these ongoing efforts. Partners include the city's Transportation Advisory Committee, Bike Friendly Arvada, Bicycle Colorado, Lake Arbor Purpose-Driven Optimist Club, Bikes for Humanity, Golden Optimist Club, Bike Jeffco, Second Chance Bikes, RTD, and Dr. Cog. The city is committed to building on this momentum of this recertification to further enhance the bike network, ensuring that residents can experience the benefits of a connected, bike-friendly community. Congratulations on Arvada's recertification as a silver level bike-friendly community. And I will bring this award down, and if you guys would like to say a word or two, that would be great.
I'll take a moment. I just wanted to, again, echo the thanks to all of our community partners and the city team that helped us with this effort. Just for background, we started this 8 months prior to the application being due. The application is pretty intensive. There's hundreds of questions on multiple levels, looking at engineering, education, encouragement, equity. I'm forgetting an E, I'm sure, in there, but there's a lot that is put into it, and so we're really grateful for all of the work that everybody put into that, and I'll pass it to Steve.
Thanks, Kelly. Steve Selly, representing Bike Friendly Arvada, and I'm also a member of Bike Jeffco with Jan Stevenson here. This is a really big deal, and I know if you don't ride a bike, you may not think it is, but I think the only other city that I know of that's ahead of us as a golden is Boulder, and obviously, if you've been to Boulder, you know what I'm talking about there. But anyway, Arvada has really done a great job, and I want to congratulate Kelly, who has been promoted, and I think very rightly so, to her position now as transportation manager. She reached out to all of those groups that were mentioned. What she would do would be email us about 3 sections, and this application is a bear. I mean, it's just nothing you do overnight. She would email that to us. She used a format where we could put our input in on each one of the sections, and then she had questions for us, and we were able to comment and then email that information back to her. I'd also like to recognize Bill Orchard, he was not able to be here, Ed Rothschild and Brandon Figlio. They're all members of Bike Friendly Arvada that certainly helped out on this. So I'll see if Jan wants to say a few words.
You know, every time you see a lot of the publications that say, hey, this is a really great community to live in, how many times do you think there's a bicycling or a bicycling family in those? A lot of times. And, you know, I've seen several of you at some of the trail openings, things like that. This community is making a difference in how people get to school, how they get around, and we're doing it safely. The application helps us kind of find a framework to do that. But you've got a great group of people, and we were glad to support it in any way we can. Thanks.
Thank you all very much as well. We appreciate you. Did you want to? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you. And great job to the team. It's important. We have no presentations this evening, so with that, I will open the public comment portion of our evening's agenda. I will give just a quick reminder on sort of the public comment best rules and practices. Please come up, give your name and address when you're at the microphone for the public record. You have 3 minutes. We always ask that you keep your comments directed at the council, not particularly at someone else who may be in chambers. We also ask that you neither applaud nor boo. We want everyone to feel comfortable up here, and as a result, we always want to keep a safe environment, whatever the issue may be. So with that, we would like to welcome up Mr. Scott Spears.
Scott Spears, 16032 West 74th Avenue. As many of you know, I own 5 businesses and 4 buildings in Old Town. Scrumptious, which turns 15 years old this June. Schoolhouse, which turned 10 last month, as well as Sock, Super Zoom Bang Bang, and Secret Level. You may remember seeing me at the last 2 business meetings in the audience. I was here to support my local business peers and community members as they told you their stories of life in Old Town. After each meeting, I spoke with my mom, who was watching at home. She expressed her happiness about how everyone came to speak their minds, but she had one problem. No one was mad. No one was angry. Well, as someone who strives to not let their mother down, I'm here to let you know that I'm pissed. I'm appalled, I'm over it, I'm mad, I'm angry. This isn't the first time council's heard from me. Some of you may remember me coming in 2022 to speak for about 5 minutes. about the many problems our staff and our clients are putting up with the homeless community down in Old Town. Some of you even may remember me writing you a poem on Christmas Day after spending my Christmas not home with my family, but fixing the schoolhouse door that a chair was thrown through and cleaning a bucket of human feces out of our bar that was left by a homeless man. I've been coming to you with stories and warnings, not for weeks, not for months, but many years. And now I have another one for you. In the early hours last Friday, February 28th, 2 homeless people came onto the rooftop at Schoolhouse and started a small fire on top of our decking, a few feet away from the back of our over 100-year-old building, and even closer to our cedar rooftop patio fence. They started the fire with small pieces of paper and cardboard. This piece of cardboard was on the edge of the fire. We've all seen the devastation that happened in Hawaii, Los Angeles, and right down the street in Superior from fires combined with wind. This is how close Old Town Arvada was to being next in that list. We were a few gusts of wind away from losing our historic district. Are you waiting for a tragedy before making any changes? Someone was assaulted getting into their vehicle and you did nothing. Now there's this. You all know what the problem is. We need you to stop trying to solve homelessness. You can't. Start looking out for the safety and well-being of our employees, our businesses, and our customers. Make the necessary changes to make Old Town safe, clean, and inviting. I'm going to leave this piece of cardboard with you. Hopefully you won't disregard it like you have with many of my complaints over the years of warnings and complaints, excuse me.
Mr. Spears, I'm going to let you wrap up. Your time has
Oh,
expired.
I'm
though.
sorry, 2 seconds. Hope you'll put it somewhere where you all meet, you'll be able to look at the char, smell the smoke, and think about putting your personal agendas aside. Hopefully it lights a fire under your butts to get things done.
Thank you. Next, we have Jill Armstrong.
Good evening. I'm Jill Armstrong at 16877 West 73rd Place. I have on a league shirt, but I'm speaking as myself. Recently, I received an email from the Arvada Overnight Weather Shelter at Mission Arvada that they will no longer accept new guests into their program. A group of mostly volunteers in a building that is not sufficient for what they are trying to do cannot do more. So again, I want to bring to your attention the need for a North Navigation Center. I was extremely disappointed when Arvada voted to sell the proposed site at Early College of Arvada. The All Roads Home Shelter Navigation Center in Boulder is a good example of what a navigation center could be. I strongly recommend that you take a tour of that facility in Boulder to see firsthand how a well-designed and well-run navigation center shelter operates. I believe that you will learn that many of the objections that were raised by neighbors in Arvada were overblown. I've even read that some council members feel that a navigation center may not be the best solution and that it's not up to the city to address the unhoused. I really hope that's not true. People tell you that they don't like seeing the unhoused and their belongings on the street, or issues like this first gentleman was just talking about. But what are the unhoused supposed to do when they don't have a place to go? A navigation center gives them that place, along with access to resources like housing, employment, healthcare, and IDs, as well as shelter so that they are not on the street. It does not cause more problems or more homelessness. It is an important component to the solution. It feels like the city is stalled right now without a specific plan in place. Where is the education campaign that you talked about? I urge you to make this issue a priority. The unhoused and those on the verge of homelessness are also your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have David Holland.
David Holland, 13815 West 58th Drive. I recently moved to Arvada after moving away. My wife and I first moved here in 2013. We're now sending my daughter to Shrine of St. Anne's School in Old Town Arvada, and to echo sentiments of the prior 2 speakers, I do realize there's a homeless crisis in Old Town Arvada. I am very empathetic to homeless issues. I am a former Denver Rescue Mission mentor, one-on-one, assisting the unhoused with getting back on their feet, finding jobs, finding employment, and assisting them getting their finances set up. I can no longer volunteer in programs like this because all of my volunteer hours are now at Shrine of St. Anne's School, patrolling the playground, where there have been many issues over the previous few months. Specifically last month, a homeless individual offered children through the fence of the playground, I believe it was a duck, saying that there was more toys or items in their car. As of this afternoon, on a search of the Arvada PD website, I show that there was a registered sex offender at 7500 West 57th Avenue, the address of the Rising and Mission Arvada Homeless Shelter. While I respect the mission and their attempt to serve the homeless, I realize that there needs to be protection here for the children who are also residents of Arvada and community members. I was told that there are zoning laws prohibiting sale of alcohol within 500 feet of a school, but there is nothing on the books, or at least nothing being enforced, that would prevent a registered sex offender being 347 feet from my daughter's playground. I propose that something be done about this to protect our children, again, who are also Arvada residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Len Clemens.
Gotta be able to see what I'm doing here. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Lynn Clemens, 6202 Kilmer Loop, Unit 102, Arvada 80403. And I'm president of the Westwood Villas HOA, and you have some maps or some pictures in front of you. We have 17 buildings on 17 acres and 135 condo units. Our community was built in 2006 after the AMAX research buildings and their surroundings were removed at 5950 McIntyre due to contamination of the 20-acre property on our south border. I'm not here to talk about contamination. I'm here to voice concerns about the Farmer Highline Canal realignment and how it may affect my community, which is directly downstream from the realignment. Arvada and the Farmers Highline Canal agreed that it was acceptable to build my 6-unit and 9-unit buildings adjacent to the canal. According to Colorado state statutes, my HOA is responsible for the land adjacent to the canal. As you can see from the pictures on pages 1 and 2, 2 buildings directly border the canal edge, and in 20 years, this earthen edge has begun to erode. We have seen sidewalks and a driveway deteriorate, possibly from the erosion. The same driveway has been replaced twice due to movement. On page 3, you can see the farthest southeast portion of my property adjacent to the City of Arvada property, Tract D, which the city is allowing to be graded for the end of the canal realignment. The city and Westwood Villas will be responsible for any changes to the adjacent land. I'm not an engineer, but I am concerned about the changes in the canal. The realignment removes the natural bend of the canal that has been there for more than 140 years, and the flow of the canal will be changed. In addition, by concrete lining the canal, the flow will be increased as the earthen walls slow down and absorb the water. What will happen to the volume and speed of the water as we get a 100-year rain event? Due to the current climate changes, there's a possibility that we may get many of these events in a 100-year span. Who's going to protect my community and the residential homes to the east? The city, the county, the canal company? Let's determine this before the canal is realigned. Although the city did not require a permit for the canal work from the developer, I contend that there still is a responsibility to the citizens of Arvada. The city could request that the developer continue the concrete lining to the bridge at West 63rd Avenue, or maybe install a heavy riprap layer on the embankment face. The situation becomes more complex when considering the entire 5950 McIntyre property will be covered by concrete for 85% of the 40 acres. The industrial runoff from the buildings and driveways could be tremendous in a 100-year storm. Could this additional water overflow into the canal? This factor cannot be ignored by the city, even though the county is choosing to only look at the canal realignment. We know that the entire development should be considered when it comes to the volume of water and its speed that may affect the properties downstream. I'm asking that the city work with the county and the developer to protect the integrity of the canal downstream. This is not a simple change to a well-established canal. Developers throughout Arvada have respected the canal and developed around it. Perhaps this developer needs to acknowledge the effects to the downstream properties and make the embankment secure for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Judith Denham.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here representing the Arvada Historical Society. I live at 5743 Teller Street in Old Town. The Arvada Historical Society is aware of the recent break-in and fire set on the deck of the schoolhouse building, and we're alarmed, and we're concerned about it. Even if the fire was limited to that small space on the roof deck, what if the fire had spread? It could have destroyed not only the schoolhouse, the 100-year-old schoolhouse building, but the rest of that historic block. The city placed Old Town on the Federal Register of Historic Places as historic downtown Arvada. The schoolhouse and its block are contributing properties. They reflect Arvada's history of early entrepreneurship and add to the current vitality of our downtown. The thought of a catastrophic fire destroying even one of our historic buildings is something we should not avoid. We thank the city for recently installing the security cameras in Old Town, particularly near the flour mill. The society has had a long-term and current problems with extensive and expensive damages to the mill and its grounds by vandals. What if vandals had started a fire at the flour mill? We're here to request that the city take a lead on protecting our historic Old Town structures. We request increasing security to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in all of Old Town to prevent potentially dangerous situations from occurring. Let's take action to protect our Old Town structures from irreparable loss. When they're gone, think of what we lose. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pat Malone.
Good evening. My name is Pat Malone. I live at 6273 Kilmer Loop in Arvada. City Council has made it clear, sorry, I've got a cold, that it chooses to not make a public statement in support of its immigrant residents so as to not become a target city such as Denver and Aurora. And while we understand that argument and see the logic in it, it's not acceptable that our city do nothing and just hope for the best, or even worse, to leave immigrant families on their own with no effort to help them. Information is vital to vulnerable people who are at risk of being targeted. I'm suggesting that an immigrant information section be added to the city's website. It could add such information as the phone number of the rapid response emergency, a place where people can call when someone observes what appears to be an ICE raid. It could also include the names of immigrant organizations, such as the Colorado Immigration Rights Organization, or actually coalition, that offer tools to help families prepare in case one of them is picked up. Families need to be ready in case the worst happens, and they need to make and document decisions such as who is allowed to pick up their children from school if the parent is detained and cannot be there for their child. This new immigration resource section could state the rights that all United States residents have, regardless of their immigrant status. They have the Fifth Amendment right to not speak to ICE or to answer their questions or to sign ICE documents. Without a judicial warrant, they can deny ICE permission to enter their home based on their Fourth Amendment right. These are a few pieces of valuable information the city could post. not just for those who are threatened, but for their allies. I hope you'll consider sharing such critical information with Arvadans. It will not only help to protect Arvadans, it will show that we are a compassionate city that values them as our neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joyce Richardson.
I'd like to echo everything that Pat said as well, but good evening, Mayor Simpson and Arvada City Council. I'm Joyce Richardson. I live at 6521 West 69th Way. I'm here again to ask for a statement from the City Council to be posted on the website and in our Arvada report stating the Council's support of immigrants, and I would say including everything that Pat just said. But the county commissioners have done this statement of support, and I see no reason that our city should not release a statement of support as well. Immigrants contribute to our neighborhoods, our schools, our tax base, and the rich diversity that created and sustains our nation. There is a lot of fear among our immigrant neighbors, and we should at the very least offer a statement of support and that we are pleased that they are here. Please issue a statement supporting immigrants before our next City Council business meeting. I'm happy to work with you on this if you're in need of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we have Tom Olschner.
My name is Tom Olschner, and I live at 9904 West 85th Way. Thanks to all of you on the council for your service to our community. My wife, Robin, and I have lived in Arvada for 30 years, and we have raised our 3 sons here. I have worked my career as a clinical psychologist. I'm speaking tonight in support of the city's draft homelessness action strategy, specifically for the goal that states, facilitate the development of a navigation center for adults experiencing homelessness with 24/7 emergency shelter and comprehensive walk-in services. I applaud this council for bold steps that have been taken toward this goal in the purchase of properties on Marshall Street and then the early college facility. These haven't moved forward, so more work needs to be done. I am the leader of the safe parking team at our church, Community of Grace, near 80th and Wadsworth. For 2.5 years, we've provided our guest parkers a safe place to park overnight. I have gotten to know these smart, caring, hardworking guests who have lost their apartments due to an illness, accident, divorce, or other crisis, and then been unable to afford a place in our expensive housing market. Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." I think this kind of love includes ensuring that our neighbors have a decent place to call home. I volunteer at Mission Arvada Day Shelter and their overnight shelter. I have the utmost respect for the staff and volunteers at Mission Arvada. They are knowledgeable, professional, hardworking, respectful, and effective in helping our less fortunate neighbors. Some clients are barely surviving and depend on the hot meals, showers, and clothing bank. Others are getting help with medical care, job placement, and obtaining stable housing. But this organization struggles along with very limited finances and a small facility that was not designed for this purpose. Adding overnight shelter has strained their staff and the dozens of volunteers who have worked so hard to keep the shelter open. Our community needs our community leaders to pull together to make a navigation center a reality. This council has been elected to provide this kind of leadership to our city. North Jefferson County needs a navigation center with 24/7 shelter, and I think this city council is in the best position to lead this effort. I believe that it can be done. It should be done. Let's all work together to make it a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to give public comment at this time? Please.
Hi, my name is Sebastian. I live on Ridge Road. I don't have anything written. I didn't expect to speak today, but I want to raise my voice in support with what Pat and Joyce have said. I would love to see this city raise their voice in support for the trans community, for the immigrant community, for the Black community. And I am disappointed that that decision was made to not do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to give public comment at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of this evening's agenda, and I will move us into new business. We have 4 items on the consent agenda this evening. They are R25-020, a resolution authorizing an agreement between the City of Arvada and Stantec Consulting, Inc. for professional services relating to owner's advisor services for the water treatment plant replacement project in an amount not to exceed $2,066,054 in the first year. R25-021, a resolution authorizing an amendment number 1 to an agreement between the City of Arvada and Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. for engineering services related to the water treatment plant replacement, piloting, and process selection for Phase 2 design services in an amount not to exceed $13,039,695, thereby increasing the total contract amount to an amount not to exceed $13,592,652. R25-022, a resolution accepting 2024 donations of ballistic armor to the Arvada Police Department. And finally, R25-023, a resolution authorizing acceptance of donations made to the Majestic View Nature Center in 2024. Councilmember Ambrose.
If there's no discussion on these items, I'll move to.
Please.
Okay. I move that consent items R25-020 through R25-023 be approved.
All votes are cast. That passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have our resolutions this evening, beginning with R25-024, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Arvada and the Jefferson Center Metropolitan District Number 1 for financing of the design, pre-construction services, construction administration, and construction of the Zephyr Zone 5 tank. Ms. Morales, I believe you have this item.
I do. As planned development expands in the northwest portion of the city, new infrastructure is needed to add capacity to our water system. This resolution and IGA concern the addition of a new Zephyr tank, which is a 1 million gallon water storage tank approximately 1,500 feet east of Highway 93 and 1,500 feet northwest of the Arvada Reservoir. The Zephyr tank will serve new development in the pumped zones and more particularly within the Jefferson Center Metropolitan District, or JCMD. The Arvada team has negotiated an intergovernmental agreement with JCMD 1 that provides for financing of engineering services and construction. Under this IGA, JCMD will provide financing for up to $5,559,212 in 2 payments. The Arvada team recommends that the City Council approve R25-024, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Arvada and the Jefferson Center Metropolitan District Number 1 for financing of the design, pre-construction services, construction administration, and construction of the Zephyr Zone 5 tank.
Mayor Pro Tim Mormon.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion if there's not any other
I
questions.
see no other lights.
Great. I move that R25-024, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Arvada and the Jefferson Center Metropolitan District Number 1 for financing the design, pre-construction services, construction administration, and construction of the Zephyr Zone 5 tank be approved.
Thank you. All right, all votes are cast. That passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next, we have R25-025, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Arvada and Adams County for Arvada's North Trunk Sewer Improvement Project Station 10, NT10. And Ms. Rhodes, you have this item.
Thank you and good evening. The Sanitary Sewer Master Plan, completed in 2022, identified segments of the North Trunk Line that are over capacity. The segment in Tennyson, from about 60th to the Metro Water Recovery Meter Station just north of I-76, is called NT10 and is one of our 4 highest priority areas that were identified in the Sewer Master Plan as evaluated on risk. In addition to being over capacity, this portion of the sewer was installed in 1962 and has reached the end of its useful life. A portion of the construction for this sewer replacement is in unincorporated Adams County. Adams County required the city to follow the Area and Activity of State Interest, AASI, or also known as the 1041 process, through an intergovernmental agreement. The Arvada team submitted the required information in May 2024 with additional submittals to respond to Adams County staff comments in August 2024 and September 2024. In October 2024, the Arvada team and Adams County staff agreed on the terms for the IGA. The Arvada team presented the project to the Adams County Commissioners at a regular meeting held on November 19th, 2024, which was continued at that session to allow the county and city teams to collaborate on additional stakeholder outreach to property owners and to examine the feasibility of future floodway improvements. The continuance was held on January 28th, 2025, and the commissioners approved the IGA at that meeting. Approving this IGA will allow the Arvada team to continue forward with the replacement of the North Trunk Line in Tennyson. The Arvada team recommends that the City Council approve R25-025, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Arvada and Adams County for Arvada's North Trunk Sewer Improvement Project Section 10, NT10 line.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Davis.
Is there any discussion?
I see no lights.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mayor. And I am very happy to support this. I move that R25-025, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Arvada and Adams County for Arvada's North Trunk Sewer Improvement Project Section and Section 10, NT10, be approved.
Indeed, thank you. And a big congratulations, Ms. Rhodes, to you and your entire team. The Adams County Commissioners did express what a tremendous job you all did in the presentation. You as well, Mr. Wick, of course. So thank you all for your hard work getting this through. It's a really important project, and we look forward to moving it forward. With that, that passes 7-0. All right, next we have first reading. Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. I move CB 25-003, an ordinance annexing certain land into the City of Arvada, a section of 64th Avenue right-of-way approximately located at 15812 West 64th Avenue in the City of Arvada, County of Jefferson, State of Colorado, be approved on first reading, ordered, published in full, and public hearing set for March 18th, 2025 at 6:15 p.m.
Thank you. That passes 7-0. All right. With that, I will open the public hearing portion of this evening's agenda. We have one public hearing this evening, and that is CB 25-005, an ordinance amending several sections of Chapter 90, Solid Waste of the Arvada City Code Ordinance Number 4891. Ms. Morales, back to you.
Thank you. So the proposed ordinance updates the language in the city code regarding waste hauling to provide the City Council with more discretion in setting the minimum service fee, also sometimes referred to as the opt-out fee, to clean up the language in Section 90-36 regarding the types of fees, and to make clear that solid waste-only service is not permitted for licensed haulers within the City of Arvada. These changes are in response to comments, suggestions, and requests that we heard from the City Council last year when we brought forth contract amendments to our waste hauling program and fee increases. The Arvada City team is recommending that the City Council approve CB 25-005, an ordinance amending several sections of Chapter 90, Solid Waste of the Arvada City Code.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to give comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open it to council questions, conversation, or action. Councilmember Marriott.
Ms. Morales, I have a question. I think the purpose of this appears to be to allow maybe a different interpretation of the rate increase contained within the contract. Is that correct?
Not within the contract. Our contract is not being modified by this amendment.
Okay.
What we were attempting to do with this ordinance modification is adjust some of the language that we had in code regarding the fee types, who they applied to just add language that gives the city council a bit more discretion in the allocation of the minimum service fee, which last year we had some questions and some issues arise when the city council asked questions on how to allocate it, which parties it applied to, and things of that nature.
Right. Okay. Well, I remember that discussion. I guess the question I would have, or maybe the clarity I'd be looking for, is the interplay between this language in our ordinance and the contractual obligation that the city has given the contract that the city council approved.
The contract terms are not changing, so we would still have the same amount of increase, supported, of course, by the data that would be presented by Republic. The difference would be to allow City Council a bit more discretion in the allocation of those amounts to the different user types.
Okay. So let me ask you just a hypothetical then. So I think I have asked for this for a couple years in a row, to where those who choose to not participate in the program don't receive an increase in the fee for opting out. In other words, you're not being served. It shouldn't cost you more to continue to not be served. And from that aspect, I see that as a positive, and I would assume that this change in the language in the ordinance would allow that.
Yes,
Okay.
that was the intent. I just want to clarify what wouldn't change is what is the city program fee. So I tried to delineate those
Yeah.
items as well, because the city program fee applies to everyone, including people who
Correct.
choose not to participate in the program.
It's-
So under your hypothetical situation, while the minimum service fee itself or the opt-out fee could potentially remain the same, those customers may still see an increase in
Because of the other
the city
fees.
program fee, because they can still avail themselves to
Okay.
the bulky item and events like that.
Okay, so let me just ask you the inverse of that then. Would this ordinance change allow the council to apply a greater percentage of the contract price increase to those who choose to opt out than the strict percentage? In other words, on one hand, the people who opt out could see no increase. On the other hand, does this language allow the council to apply all of the fee increase, for instance, to those who choose to opt out? I'm not saying that's what they would do. I'm just asking whether that would be allowed under this provision.
I don't think so, because the program fees are still based off of the exact card size that each participant obtains. The minimum service fee could still be increased in support of the city's waste hauling program, if I'm understanding the question correctly, which is what a lot of other communities do. A lot of our neighboring communities have, which is where the minimum service fee name, I think, comes from, is they have the minimum service fee that is equivalent to what the user with the smallest cart would pay, and those funds go to support the greater efforts of the program. I don't know that, under your hypothetical, I don't think that we could then charge more to those users.
A disproportionate amount, if you will.
Yes, however, the minimum service fee, so I'm trying to understand it without confusing the issues, do also support maintaining competitive and lower costs for the overall customer base, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, just following on to Mr. Marriott's question, I am concerned that those folks who decide not to use the city's service, and while they are paying for the complete program, my concern is, and I've heard from people that have used things like the bulky item drop-off is that everybody's using the bulky item drop-off, whether they pay into our service fee or not. And that they're concerned that they're paying for other agencies' deficiencies for not having a bulky item drop-off or a leaf drop. And that I think is a clear concern for me, is if we're assuring that the folks that are paying into the program, and if we're going to increase that opt-out rate, that we make sure that those people who aren't paying for that service aren't taking advantage of our service that the opt-out folks are paying into and will now be paying at a higher rate. I mean, we went to another municipality, and I was told that those who opted out were paying the rate of the smallest cart, which is $12 and some change. So that would double that rate. And when we're talking about other things, as we did this evening, and we keep doubling fees and adding on fees, that concerns me. If we're gathering many tons of other jurisdictions, bulky items or leaves or things like that. So that is a concern that I'm hearing from the public.
Okay. I think some of these questions also might be covered in the later presentation by the city team. But as far as our city residents and all of our city residents' use of the bulky item, leaf drop-off events, and those events, those are not paid based off of the people who have opted out of the program. Those costs come out of what we're calling our city program fee, which includes things like the bulky item events, the yard waste events, and the program administration costs that everybody in the city, with the exception of some properties that are specifically excluded, like multifamily dwellings with units of 8 or more, everybody in the city is paying into those programs and can participate in those programs. And then to address the other question, the minimum service fees that are increased in other communities to be the equivalent of what the minimum cart size would be in that jurisdiction or even here, those fees still go to support the waste diversion efforts. So like here in our city, they go to support the waste diversion efforts of the city. And those kinds of things include things like keeping user fees low and competitive, incentivizing participation in the program in order to increase waste diversion and recycling efforts. They go to, incentivizing participation in the program to reduce the impact on city infrastructure for multiple heavy trucks, with the ultimate goal of a better environment and more.
Yes, and I
So
understand
I'm not sure if that answered the question.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if somebody is coming from Broomfield, and Broomfield doesn't offer a bulky item pickup, but they know Arvada is, and they know that if they're standing 10 feet, 20 feet in line, 20 vehicles in line, they're not having to prove that they're an Arvada resident and paying into the program. So they're getting to use something that they're not paying for. So that's kind of the concern that I'm hearing.
Councilmember Davis, if I could just help, and we'll be able to address some of additional follow-up to your question in our workshop following, but we do check identification at the event as part of the way we staff the event, and we can speak to that a little bit more about what our typical protocol looks like.
Yeah. No, that's a beauty. They do.
Oh, they do. Yes, they do. Do you have any additional questions, Councilmember Davis? Okay. With that, I see no additional lights. So are there additional questions or action? Councilmember Ambrose.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I move that CB 25-005, an ordinance amending several sections of Chapter 90 Solid Waste of the Arvada City Code, be approved on final reading numbered 4891 and ordered published by title only.
Thank you. Councilmember Marriott, wish to speak to the motion?
I do. So I'm going to vote yes here because I believe it is an attempt to answer what I've requested for a couple of years here since this program started, and that's for those who choose to not participate. We already pay the city's program fee So we pay for bulky item drop-offs, we pay for leaf events, we pay for the city's overhead portion of the program. We also, we don't pay for carts, and we don't pay to actually have our trash removed because the program doesn't remove our trash. But yet every year as the price of the program goes up, as the fees for the dumping of the trash go up, we have been told we have to pay more at the same percentage as those who are actually receiving service. And I think it's been profoundly unfair. I think I've described it as, the vendor drives down the street and picks up trash from the places that are in the program and are paying for that service. Then they drive past the houses who choose not to participate. And while I understand that as each year goes by, it costs them more to stop and pick up the trash and dispose of the trash and do all the things that they're required to do under the contract, it doesn't cost them any more to drive past the house that's not participating. And I think this is, I believe, an honest attempt to set up the scenario by which the city council can treat the people who opt out equitably and not raise the price to opt out each year by the same percentage as those who receive the service. And my hope is this is an attempt to reallocate the increase in the cost of the program to those who are actually receiving the service where it should be. I think my calculations last year, it was somewhere like 15 extra cents per bill or per month, I don't remember which, for those who actually receive the service, for those who don't, to not have an increase in their opt-out fee. So because of that, I'm going to vote for it. I'm going to hope that this isn't an opportunity for this or future city councils to punish those who choose to not participate in the program and raise the opt-out fee at all, much less by more than what everybody else gets their fees raised by. So for that reason, I'll be voting yes on this item.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis, you also wish to speak to the item.
Yes, thank you. I too will be voting yes on this, but again with the caveat that as we move forward, when the haulers' costs increase, it's not going to increase the fee for those who have opted out. I think that would be equitable in terms of how the costs are spread out for folks who are using the program. Absolutely, their fees may need to increase because costs increase for the hauler. But again, it doesn't need to change for those who are opting out and have decided not to use it. That is a choice, and we have a fee. It's not a tax. So I will be voting yes, but I'll be watching this very closely, especially when we come to negotiating the contract.
Thank you very much. And with that, it passes 7-0. We have no additional public hearings this evening, so I will close the public hearing portion, and I will open it up for our workshop on the same topic of waste hauling program. Ms. Rhodes, I believe you have this item.
Thank you. Our team went back and forth about whether to show the cartoon or the actual carts, so we can carry forward the cartoon.
We like the cartoon.
Thank you for your time this evening. I know it's been already a long evening talking about infrastructure needs, but I'm excited to come before you today to try and present a proposed path about how we can bring to you the information you need for your decision making. So you already heard the first item that we just discussed around code updates and the city team's attempt to be responsive to what we heard last spring, giving you the discretion to tell us how you would like us to distribute any increases or changes to that minimum service fee. And we're going to talk through some other things that we heard so that we can receive your direction for the other items. Here with me tonight, some speaking and some helping with some questions. I want to acknowledge some of our team members. You already heard from Jess Morales, our attorney who's been supporting us on this effort. We also have our Utilities Services Manager, Debbie Baumgartner, our Utilities Business Manager, Chris Gray, and a representative from Republic Services, Mark Petrovich here, who can help answer any questions you might have. So we're going to start with some background, but again, the real focus is to try and be responsive to what we heard from you last spring. We talked about some code requirements, but we want to dig into some specific items around the hauler contract, status of some of the other related work that's happening, and then seek your direction for what you'd like to see us bring forward in a series of future workshops for considerations for 2026 fee and rate scenarios. I wanted to kick it off with just acknowledging some background materials available on our website that talk a little bit about the history of the program, its purpose, and some of the annual reporting we do to talk about progression over time, about participation in the program, and some of the statistics around our actual waste diversion efforts. This, again, follows more of the contractual years, so thinking through how the events are held. From a June to July timeframe, not a calendar year. So that's why some of the events change, the number of events from year to year. But overall, we've seen an increase in participation in the program, albeit a low one that we'd like to raise. So I want to just start with some background around the fees. I know that you are all well versed in this, but I wanted to normalize some of the language we're using. And in prior presentations, we talked a lot about what does minimum service mean for a customer who is opting out of the program. In previous conversations, we talked about the city portion of that minimum service and then the contractual portion of that minimum service. And just to be really consistent and so that I'm clear in the direction that I'm hearing from you, I wanted to separate those two items in the table here. It's consistent with the code, it allows you to provide direction to us, and it distinguishes the differences between what the city program fee is covering and the minimum service or opt-out fee is covering, and so that's our attempt to do that here. So just to walk through for a moment, what is the city program fee? This is, again, the fee that covers bulky item events, our yard waste collection events, program administration, and again, this is assessed to all customers who are eligible for trash service, including HOAs. So we show the $150 per month and the number of participants that fee is applied to currently. These numbers I think are based on January of this year. The enterprise fee is another city fee that covers the principal and interest for the initial startup loan, and that really came down to the cost of cart purchase, and again, that is only assessed to participants in the program who are receiving cart service. So that would be applied for both, for only those receiving cart service. The cart replacement fees are covering future cart replacement costs for both the trash and recycling costs. And again, those are only applied to participants in the program that are enrolled in that trash service. Cart service fees, and this is where there's a whole menu of options, and this is built into our contract based off of a pay-as-you-throw model. We show, based off of your cart size there, what those fees look like, at least in the current fee structure. And then as was discussed in the code updates, we're really trying to distinguish the minimum service opt-out fee to normalize the language on this is a contractual requirement that, again, enables a cost-effective price, and really that's built into our hauler contract and assessed to the residents who would be eligible but have opted out to supply their own hauler. And that is currently $455 per month.
Councilmember Ambrose, you have a question?
Yes, so I'm curious as to why there's an enterprise fee, cart replacement fees that are going out to $16,474, but there are 18,248 who are receiving cart service. So is it that there's 2,000 people who are not getting charged cart replacement and enterprise, but are somehow getting cart service?
So I believe the difference, I'm going to take a stab at, well, do you want to go ahead and answer it, Debbie? You'll get it correctly.
So the difference is that Republic is based off of carts. So their total carts is the 18,248. But for budgetary reasons, the city of Arvada has to assess only those that don't have multi-carts, which is the 16,474.
Okay, so the 18,248 is per cart, but 16,474 is basically each household?
Yes,
okay,
correct.
Great, thanks.
So just for clarification, if it's multiple carts at a household like mine that has 3 because we have 2 recycling bins, there it is.
Yes.
There we go. Blame me.
Thank you.
Ms. Rhodes.
So in another example, we can think about this through a couple of typical customers. And so we just presented a couple of scenarios here. Someone who's opted into the program with a 95-gallon cart, a non-HOA eligible customer who's opted out of the program, and an HOA who is elected for their own hauler and who's also not in the program. And so we've tried to break down at least the current fee schedule listed here and what that looks like as to how those fees are actually applied to those customers. Again, the only difference in how we're presenting this information compared to last year was separating out the city program fee and the minimum service opt-out fee to just see those as separate line items compared to what we previously presented as minimum services by customer type. So high-level program participation, just tracking some of the current statistics. We have 8,224 participants currently who pay that minimum service opt-out fee, so the $455 that goes through the hauler contract, and of course the city program fee that was explained is applied to all customers at $1.50 per month. Compare that to those currently elected into the program with cart services, and that includes the additional bins per month that Debbie just explained at 18,248 participants. So you kind of see in the figure here that breakdown of the fraction of our participants who are opting out versus participating in the program. So again, the purpose of this evening is to bring you back the information you need for your decision making in the workshops we have planned ahead. And a couple of key things that we heard that we wanted to present some status on or additional information is information around the current hauler contract. So what are the current terms and conditions, key provisions that need to be considered? When does it expire? What renewals are available? And then does council want to direct us to continue to proceed with those renewals or work on putting that contract back out to bid? The second theme that we heard was again around that minimum service or opt-out fee. We want to talk a little bit about why it exists and how it compares to other communities. And then to be responsive to what we heard, are there options to reallocate a portion, say just the future increases of this fee to different customers, or to change that fee? And so we'd like to talk about what that would look like here tonight. We also heard a desire to increase some of the services around composting. And so we want to talk through what are the current efforts underway, what have we learned, what are our options, can we offer some services through our existing contract, or when could we bring these additional services into the program? So those are some of the things we want to cover tonight. And I'd like to hand it over to Debbie to dive in.
Thank you, Jacqueline. So the next slide I'm going to go through is the hauler contract. This is a 5-year contract with Republic Services. It was initiated in July of 2021. The current contract ends in July of 2026. There are 2 consecutive 1-year renewals that are available to the city to extend until July 2028 if we so wish. Increases are determined by April 1st of each year, maximum increase of 3.5% with a minimum at 2.5%. The increase applies to all contract components. There is something called the regulatory state and federal fees and their pass-throughs. Last year, for example, it was at 9 cents, which was added to the 3.5 increase from Republic. And the contract increases are effective every July 1st of each year, so that's why we're coming to you now, so that everything is in place and ready to go by July 1st. Just for example, as of January 2025, the 12-month running average of the National Water, Sewer, and Trash Index from the Bureau of Labor Statistics was actually at a cost of 4.89%. So we are, by our maximum increase of 3.5% is well below what it actually costs to do business at 4.89%.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you. My question is for around the hauler contract, so I'll ask it now, but if you want to put it off till later, feel free to do so. My question is around the state's producer responsibility program, which will come in effect in 2026. And under that program, all residential recycling would be paid for through that program. And so given the timing of our contract, I'm just wondering how if we're going to be able to make adjustments in our contract to what's being charged to our customers, that because of that portion will be paid for by the state on the recycling end. And I know some of the advice coming out from the state now is to require in those single hauler contracts to ask the contractor to separate the cost for trash and the cost for recycling, not what the customer sees when they're paying for it, but on the city end, so that we can then allocate that appropriately and make sure we're getting paid for by the state program for that recycling portion, and then again making sure that what the customer is being charged isn't being charged for the recycling portion, if that makes sense.
We don't have all the specifics on how we'd implement that. Obviously, there's a lot of information coming out, but we are working with our Republic Services to make sure we understand how that breakdown is going to occur. So I don't have an update to provide to you, but I appreciate you bringing it up here as something that we're going to have to incorporate into future contract amendments.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's on our radar as we're looking at future contracts and how we want to handle that and make sure those adjustments are accordingly.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue. As you all know, you have already seen this slide presented by Jessica Morales. This is section 90-35. It's the waste services fees and the fee type and the properties that are tied to those were really dispersed and reallocated so that if we had to move some money around or certain fees, we had the city or we had the discretion to do so. So I know there was some talk at length with this. Is it all right if I move forward? Okay. Okay, so what is the minimum service opt-out fee? The opt-out fee from Republic Services of $4.55 per month was a negotiated fee. This enables a cost-effective price to the resident while also providing a predictable revenue stream for the contracted hauler. It offsets the ceiling cap of 3.5%. However, it's still not enough to cover the current cost of doing business as we understand it from what Republic has relayed to us.
Councilmember Davis, apologies.
Thank you. So, okay, I think your last sentence just cleared that up for me, but the current cost of doing business for Republic. So I guess then should they not be raising the rates for those who use the service rather than the opt-out rate for those who do not? So that is really my concern.
So the main reason that many cities raise the minimum service fee is for program adoption. And our cities is one of the few cities where our adoption rate is about 31%, whereas most cities have a much higher minimum service fee and their adoption rate is 5 to 10% as far as opt-out goes. So we have a very high opt-out rate in our particular city because we have not raised our minimum service fee, which means we're really not promoting the program, if you will, or getting a high adoption rate.
So does that mean that opt-out fee is that from Republic Services actually paying the difference between if we all used it rather than just 30, however the lower percentage of us using it? That's just, I guess that's what I'm looking at. That's what it seems like.
The $4.55 and ours is $1.50, which total the $6.05. The portion that you raise, because contractually Republic is only able to raise their portion at 3.5%, so we would actually have to raise the city portion if you wanted it to get to a minimum service fee. I think our small card it's on the next slide, I believe, but it's $12.70. So you would be collecting more money, and how you decided to spread that revenue out and what you decided to spend that on, whether it's staffing or hazardous waste recycling, electronics, that type of thing, would be what you decided to do. Many other cities that are taking a higher minimum service fee have more adoption, and they do have drop off places for composting, they have electronics recycling, they have a number of various programs that are, you know, environmentally good.
Right, so if we don't adopt any of things like that, because we have Rooney Road and we have other electronics gathering places and drop-offs, then does the negotiated fee have to go up? Because we're not adopting, we're not adding anything, we're not adding any value to the folks who are opting out of electronics, has waste, that kind of thing, because we have those already in the county. So that's why I have a little bit of heartburn. No, I have a lot of heartburn on increasing that opt-out fee to the smallest cart rate. I really have a problem with that.
So the opt-out fee is made of two different entities, the city's portion and then also Republic's portion. Republic's portion is at a max of 3.5%. It's the city portion that pays for the large item, the leaf events, and also staffing and normal administrative costs.
Okay. And quickly, I just want to, we had a little bit of a confusion, so I want to be clear with the term adoption. It is, you were referring to that the city of Arvada has a high adoption rate of 30%. That is people, that is not people who are selecting to opt into the program. Those are people who are choosing the minimum service fee. They're adopting the minimum service fee. I just want that to be clear.
Correct.
We have north of 60% of households eligible for the program enrolled in the program.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
So the majority that are in the program actually are using the service, yes.
Yeah, and I hear what some of my council members are saying in terms of where their heartburn is coming from in regards to increasing it. I think what would be interesting then is to know exactly what the increase is for the city's services and apply those equitably. And then we can look at other things. In particular, I know one of the main reasons we passed this program to begin with was the roads. As we heard earlier this year, Arvada has the 5th worst roads in the state of Colorado now. It's a dubious honor. And these are the heaviest regular equipment we have on the roads. I would also be curious what the rate of inflation for road repair has been as well.
I don't have
Not
any
at this moment in
information
time
on
for
the
the
road,
future.
so-
For the future,
Yes.
apologies, not at this moment in time. But it's something we have to look at as a council in terms of protecting our most expensive asset and why this whole conversation happened to begin with many years back, and just looking at what that cost is to us as these trucks remain and their unique impact to the roads.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I've already touched on this somewhat, but other city comparison, most other, as I was stating, cities set their minimum service opt-out fee and city program fee to equal that of the smallest bin size. In our case, our smallest bin size cost is $12.75. That's for the 35-gallon trash can and 95-gallon recycle bin. Our opt-out cost currently is at $6.05. It is much lower than other cities that have contracted services with a hauler. If you look at the graph over to the right there, you'll see that Arvada is the lowest at $6.05. That's followed by Broomfield at $10.50. Fort Collins is then at $11.10. Golden is at $11.50. Lafayette is at $16.93, and Louisville is at $22.91.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you for these numbers. So in Broomfield, Fort Collins, Golden, Lafayette, and Louisville, do we have the numbers of the people who've decided to opt in versus opt out of the service? Because I'm sure that there aren't 127,000 people in Louisville. So maybe that's why their opt-out fee is a little higher to make up, to pay for the program. And in Arvada, that 605 might be able to pay for the program. I just have heartburn doubling our cost. And that's what I've heard, not from Sharon, that's what I'm hearing from the public.
Quickly, Mayor Pro Tem Mormon actually has information on this question.
I know that Broomfield has a 10% opt-out. They just started their program. And no, 90%. Oh, number of households, we can find that out, yeah. Right. And then I know that Lafayette and Louisville, their costs are much higher because they have a 3-cart system. So every home gets compost, recycling, and trash.
Councilmember Rupert.
So Denver recently started charging a new program, and how do these costs compare to Denver's program?
My understanding is that Denver has their own trucks, their own workers, their own force. They implemented composting, was my understanding. It didn't sound like maybe the rollout was perfect. It sounds like it's a work in progress. But they also have their own staffing and their own trucks. So, any errors, they're probably, able to correct.
No, I was actually just asking for how our rates compare to what they're charging residents.
I didn't compare Denver's because they don't partner with another company that does it. They are all in-house and have their own trucks and staffing.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
I was just going to say that same thing, that it's going to be less than us, I know, and less than these fees because they have their own trucks. I mean, that's the big benefit for them that they have.
Can I also offer that Denver has a tax that they use to offset that, where we are running this as an enterprise fund, and so we do not use general fund dollars to offset these fees.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. All right, please continue.
I'm going to go ahead and move forward. We have investigated composting, and here are some of the findings. If we were to go with subscription organics through a Republic contract, it requires a minimum of 3,000 participants, and the estimated pricing is $16 to $19 per month per home. If we were to mandate citywide organics through the Republic contract, this would require participation from all 18,248 customers currently. The estimated pricing ranges from $6 to $9 per month. We could apply for a cart grant or bundle the cost of the cart from Republic Services. If we were to do composting with Republic, whether it was subscription or citywide, we would need to do a new 5-year contract extension, approve funds for staffing, and potentially carts. The earliest implementation that we would be able to do would be 1/2 of 26, but more realistically, a date of 7/1 of 26 is a much more reasonable time frame. The current contract amendment, by changing the current contract, Arvada could lose the ceiling cap of the 3.5% maximum increase. Current Republic contracts with other cities are not set at a cap price increase model. Instead, the increase is in a model with performance assumptions, tons of waste, number of trucks, and staffing that's more stable and aligns with the cost of doing business itself.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
I guess I have 2 questions. One is one option I don't see on here that I've asked about is a seasonal yard waste curbside collection. So it's not food waste, but just for yard waste. I know this is something that I hear a lot about from my constituents is during, April to November with all the yard waste that they get is what to do with that. And so I would like to see that as a possible option for us to explore too and see what that would cost to add to the program. And then the second thing for us to consider, going back to my earlier comment about producer responsibility, is when that comes online in 2026, we could look at offsetting the cost for compost with what we're gaining from the recycling end of our program being paid for by the state's program.
Yeah.
So that's something else we could consider too to help pay for some of the composting costs if we want to add that in. So something for us to think about.
Thank you.
Thank
Quickly, along the composting notes, I will note that I am a subscriber to a local business that does composting, and I pay $25 a month, just a little bit, so the pricing here is less. I like the idea of perhaps the subscription model, and when we hit 3,000 enrollees, that's when it triggers, but it doesn't trigger until we hit the number, perhaps. Otherwise, obviously a conversation to be extended for the future, but I am concerned about letting go of our 3.5% cap because that has been locked in to a 2019 rate, to remind everybody, and we skipped 2020. So we have had numerous years of continuously falling below the market rate here. So I would be very concerned about letting go of that because we could potentially see a makeup price that would be much more of a shock than 3.5% will be.
Okay. I also did some research with private composting options. There are multiple companies that offer private composting options for interested customers. They include pickup, they include drop-off options, and just as the mayor was saying, the pricing does vary per company. Okay, what is new and other related work in progress? So, edits were made to the code providing more clarity around fees and the waste hauler license. The city code section 90-52, the license application, the permit wording, and documentation for all haulers in the city of Arvada was updated. The permit process for solid waste was moved over to the utility services manager, that's me. Each residential solid waste hauler must detail their plan for recycling in order to be issued a permit. And the city team is working to improve system functionality. We did hear you on that. We heard with the context to system functionality that we were lacking in several areas, and we are working with IT and our system vendors on system functionality in several areas. These areas are payment platform options, bill print accessibility online, improvement of e-bill adoption versus the printed bill, and cellular meters with access to the usage portal. And then the next item is the Waste Diversion Action Plan. The Waste Diversion Action Plan project completed a baseline assessment and gaps and opportunities assessment. Top recommendations were identified, and the next steps are to prepare the draft plan. The project is anticipated to be completed in April through May, and recommendations from the plan under review include require pay-as-you-throw for all haulers, increase residential participation in single hauler program, pilot an organics/food waste curbside collection program, provide ongoing public education on recycling, and expand recycling at all public spaces and events. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it back to Jacqueline.
All right. Welcome back, Ms. Rhodes. Thank you.
So we'll be bringing back more information on the Waste Diversion Action Plan recommendations as the team continues to work through that. But here's our portion to listen to you. I've already heard some great feedback tonight, but we wanted to hear some direction from you on these three themes. So should you ask us to look into changes to the Republic Services contract, the team will need some time to put that together, particularly if we're looking to not pursue those future amendments and look to potentially rebid that work or bring a new hauler on. That'll take about 12 to 18 months' time to structure the program and go through that process. And so we would need that direction from you as early as possible so that our teams could be responsive. The second theme is around composting. And so you heard some options that we have started to look into. Would you like to provide us some direction now, or would you like to see how some recommendations play out from the Waste Diversion Action Plan, or of some of the ideas that Councilmember Moorman already mentioned? And then finally, what scenarios would you like us to bring back to you around the minimum service or opt-out fee? We could maintain our current practice. And again, that means that that 3.5% ceiling for the contract requirements would be applied to all of the fees, including this fee. We could look at options to reallocate what that future increase looks like to existing cart service customers. Or on the other end, which I think I've already heard a little bit about tonight, would you like to see us go in the other direction with that fee? So we're really here to listen so that we can bring back to you in future workshops the information that you need for next year's schedule.
Councilmember Marriott.
Thank you. So I want to offer some observations here and then answer some questions, give you the feedback you're looking for. So a couple things. I think it started with the very first slide in this workshop. So far, in many ways, this program has been a failure. The diversion rate is exactly the same as it was before this program. So on that account, it's made no difference. I think it's also probably pretty clear that the satisfaction by the residents as a whole is probably pretty low with this program. And I'm not talking about those who receive service from the program. I think that's a different thing. But a third don't participate. They clearly are not seeing this as satisfactory or valuable, or more than, less than a third would be out. I think I'll give the city lots of credit for the part of the program that the city administers, that they've done a really good job of putting the program in place and handling what it took to get it going and get carts in everybody's yards and deal with routes and missed pickups and all that kind of stuff, and have done a good job over time doing that. So I think for those who have opted in, the satisfaction is good, or is certainly at least appropriate. But clearly it's not enough, because a third of the people say no thank you. I will note that I have a number of properties opted out, and I pay less than the city's, than the charge to be in the city program. And not only that, I can put out as many carts as I want. Not that I do. In fact, some weeks I don't even put one out, because I live, single person household. I don't exactly have a lot. But I can also put out all the yard waste I want seasonally, and there's never an extra charge for it. So there's features that the free market provides that this program doesn't provide, that clearly some people find valuable. And I think as we look forward, if this program can adopt some of those things that the market clearly wants. Government's in an interesting position, because government does have the ability to force people to do things that they might not otherwise do. I don't think that makes it right just because government can. Government can also act like the business community does and listen to your customers. They're talking to you. Are you listening? Listen to them and try to deliver to them, meet their expectations, and then you don't have any worries about are you doing it right. I want to make a comment too about the upcoming Producer Responsibility Act. I think Mr. Moorman said these recycling costs to be paid by the state. That is hardly true. These are recycling costs to be paid by each individual taxpayer. That is where the money's coming from. This is essentially a tariff added to all goods that have packaging that can potentially be recycled. And the end user is paying for that up front. They absolutely should not pay for that twice. And so the minute that the state stands up this producer responsibility scheme and starts putting money in the hands of, whether it be cities or whether it be vendors or whoever it may be, this tariff that they're collecting from taxpayers, as soon as that starts actually paying for the action that they're going to take, this program absolutely has to stop charging those who have opted in this program for the recycling component of it. It would be completely immoral for this program to charge people twice for recycling. So that's something I think this program needs to pay a lot of attention to, and I think we need to be very, very careful about saying things like, well, when the state starts paying for it, then we have no more worries. No, those individuals are paying for it, and they're just paying for it at a different place in the chain. I think another thing we talked about, a couple of things here that you'd like guidance on it. So here's the places I would give guidance. I would keep the existing Republic contract for as long as possible, through its whole 5-year plus the 2 options. I think, in spite of my opposition to this program, I think the contract is a good deal for the citizens of Arvada, and I think losing that contract early it would not be in the best interest of the citizens of Arvada that participate in the program. So I would not lose that contract. However, I know we have the issue to deal with paying for recycling twice, and the city absolutely cannot allow that to happen. That whether it takes action by the state or the legislature, whatever it might take to prevent that from happening, that absolutely can't happen. The second thing I would do is I would not raise the opt-out fee anymore. That's happened twice, at least once, maybe twice. Should not happen again. Again, as I've explained numerous times, it is not costing the vendor any more money to ignore people than it cost them last year or the year before. I mean, they have to drive by your house. It's not optional. It's not costing any more to ignore you than it did before. So that fee should not be. I think that gets to your number 3, adjust the minimum service fee. I think, the increase, the annual increase in the price of the contract just needs to be spread, that total amount, amongst those who actually get service from the city. When it comes to composting should be completely optional, shouldn't be as part of this program. I think, for those who value composting, they should pay for it, just like the things I value in my life. For those who don't, I don't think they should be subsidizing those who do. So composting, I think the private sector delivers that. The vendor may have some ability to help deliver that. It might be even in their best interest to help deliver that. I would expect if it is, they will. So I would not want to see. Composting be part of this program now or at any time in the future. I would see no benefit to that at all. I know this isn't the night to do it. Debbie brought up the waste diversion action plan. We'll look forward to that, and I'll make comments on that. I think, again, I fear in that plan that it leans heavily on government doing what government can do, which is force you to do something you might not want to do. And I don't think that's appropriate in any circumstances, and particularly not in these circumstances. I definitely wouldn't do that. And then last, I want to speak to the vendor here in this program. I want to give Republic credit for doing a good job as the city's vendor. I know this is a big undertaking. I believe at the time the largest they'd ever undertaken, and they've done a good job providing service. People in general are satisfied. I think there's a lack of satisfaction with the inability to have seasonal ebbs and flows in your trash. I don't care, whether it's Christmas time or whether it's spring cleaning or whether it's summertime with yard waste. I would hope future programs would have some ability to deal with that in a way that's not punishing, like buying a $3.50 sticker to put on a trash bag. I view that as punishing, and I would hope that future contracts will do that. And then last, I would like to give my perspective on those who have opted out of this program for the vendor as they contemplate future contracts, whenever that is, whether that's not till 28 or whenever it is. But I think you've found the third of Arvada that is resistant to being told what they have to do. I think if there were no opt-out fee, my guess is it would be far less than a third of them that would be opted out of this program. And it seems maybe counterintuitive, but my advice to you would be take the opt-out fee away. Build your next proposal, your next contract with no opt-out fee. My guess is the opt-outs would be a much smaller percentage, particularly if it's a program that does respond to what your customers are telling you about seasonal or yard waste type of things. I think and particularly with, the transparency about the recycling component and where the end users are paying it and where they're not, I think that would behoove you, and I think you would do better with that approach than the current approach. I foresee with the current approach, this third of the people who would opt out is going to be persistent and stubborn. And I think if the city were to try to use the unique power the city has to force people to do something they don't want to do, I think you get more resistance, and I don't think that's probably the right thing to do for the community. So, my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Ambrose, you were next.
Thank you. I really appreciate this workshop and presentation, especially the first slide that broke out the different fees from the city fee that pays for bulky and yard waste drop-off versus the opt-out fee, because I had been putting those together. So I really appreciate that those fees are broken out into, here's how much we're charging all Arvada residents to have access to the bulky item drop-off and the yard waste, and then here is the minimum service fee that we have to have in order for our vendor to be able to cover their costs for a single hauler program. So I appreciate that nuance and distinction, because before when we were talking about the spring, I was like, these both are the same, right? This is the same fee. So appreciate that and wanted to acknowledge where I didn't understand it before. I wanted to ask a question for Councilmember Marriott's first assertion that there has been no improvement in waste diversion since the adoption of this program. You said it was a complete failure on this point. I'm not aware of what you're referencing, and I was hoping staff member could talk about that.
I shared the annual report earlier, but I'll have Debbie speak to since inception what those numbers look like.
Initially, the diversion rates, they didn't have anything concrete, if you will. I believe or prior to starting up the program and getting council to vote the program in, they were looking at, I found reports that said 6% diversion. I also found other printed material for the council meetings themselves that said that they were more like at 12 or 13%. Neither here nor there, because we didn't actually have the recycling material going anywhere, or it was going somewhere not in the city of Arvada. But yes, the diversion rate has absolutely gone up. It does usually peak more during the winter months, especially during Christmas, when people were ordering off of Amazon and have a lot more boxes to recycle. It usually goes up December and January. The other months, we're looking at a pretty steady 15 to 16% diversion. We're talking about recycling material. That material is very light in a truck. So for you to get 15, 16% is actually an amazing amount that you're getting because you don't have any composting that weighs a truck down. So yes, we have increased our numbers. They have gone up.
Okay, I'd like to yield the floor back to Councilmember Marriott to clarify what he meant by that.
Thank you, Councilmember Ambrose. I appreciate you doing that. In the material, in the lead up to this program, we were pitched that in Arvada, one of the failures of the open market system that we had in Arvada was that we only had a 13 or 14% or 12%, somewhere around there, diversion rate of waste. And the goal of this program was to get us up to the regional average, national average. I'm not exactly sure what they were using, but in the 30%. Currently, after years of this program, we're at 14%, which is arguable almost exactly where it was before this program started. And that's why I call it an abject failure on that point. Did it increase our diversion rate? Maybe, but by fractions of a percent, when the pitch was that it would double or more our diversion rate, and clearly hasn't happened, and I would say isn't likely to. Now, if it all of a sudden does, I'll be suspicious that we start counting it differently, more so than actual different things are happening.
Thank you, Councilmember Marriott. I mean, maybe with the ordinance change that we passed tonight, that all haulers also have to include recycling, that those waste diversion numbers will increase, because that was an omission that perhaps is a part of it. Okay, so one thing I wanted to note is that, people who opt out are only able to get cheaper rates than the city because the city has a single hauler rate that they can call and use that to advantage. So I disagree that it's the free market providing. It's more that the collective bargaining power of the city with 18,000 other customers or other bins and 16,000 other households saying, I get this rate, can you beat it? Which has been able to help people who have opted out to have cheaper rates. So I think that's one benefit to keeping this single hauler program is that we are able to say there's a potential of 38,000 households here. What kind of rates can you provide? And even people who don't opt into the system, people who are opting out, are able to get cheaper than city rates because the city has an established rate. So I think that's one benefit that benefits everybody who opts out. One thing I wanted to ask is if the opt-out fee could give access to Republic services other than the waste, the cart carry-off, such as like being able to call in for a bulky item pickup from the house, or the roll-off discount rates, which are like $100 cheaper than other market rate roll-offs, something that participation in the program does offer a benefit. Because before I thought it was like, oh, you get the benefit from the yard waste or the bulky item drop-off. And now that recognizing that's something that the city provides with a different fee, is there something that if we have the opt-out fee, we have to have it, that they can get some sort of access or some sort of benefit because they are providing, coverage for whichever vendor, right now it's Republic, but whichever vendor to be able to operate in Arvada, is there something that we can negotiate there so that people who are paying into it do get some sort of benefit?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that this evening, but I'm happy to take it back with the team and try and understand what might be possible.
Okay, so that's just a question I have on adjusting the minimum service fee, if that is possible. Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Pfeiffer, you were next.
All right, so I'm just going to go straight to answering your 3 questions. So, Republic does a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I do believe their fees are a little high. I know we add fees on top of it, which makes it look a little bit more expensive. But if you have 16,000 customers conjugating in one area, you think there's some synergy there, and I know we've chatted about it a few times with Republic, but because of that, I think it's healthy that we go back out to bid next year. I don't think the 2 additional, because if the 3%, 3.5%, we don't know where the economy is going right now, and the world's in a different place, and there's a lot of layoffs, and who knows what the economy will do. But I also think it's a great opportunity to refresh the contract, see what the rates are out there, introduce composting, look at the recycling rebates or whatever we're calling that coming back, and kind of reset the program. And I think we could do a better job then because we have experience now for 5 years. And, we were flying a little bit, building the plane and flying at the same time. I don't think that will happen this time. I think you got the plane, you know what to do, you know what to look for. Because it was very clear even with Mr. Marriott, he gets a way cheaper price than what we get. So I don't know why he would want to encourage this program other than to bolster his point of opt-outs as an issue. So I think you should, I'm actually changing my perspective on the opt-out. I'm okay with increasing the fee on the opt-out now because I think some of the adoption issue is because it is cheap and we're not getting that adoption on it. So it's more expensive to have the recycling and the trash in my eyes than to just opt out and then go with one of the cheap program providers that Mr. Marriott's referring to. So why wouldn't I just stay the course then if I was an opt-out customer? And also the increase of 3.5%, we're talking about 5.9 cents for this next year. So 5 cents on the $4.55 that would be added. I think I'm okay with that this year. So to go down the list, 1, no, I would not do any option to renew. 2, I would go and put it out into contract renewal for next summer, including the composting, and then see what it looks like with the recycling. And then 3, I would go ahead and adjust equally across the board if you need to do that. That's where I'll stand.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. It's been enlightening. So I understand what that fee is for the city and the $6.05 for the folks who opt out. Totally understand that it pays and it supports the other two programs, the leaf drop-off and the bulky item drop-off. Or you could pick up a new couch at the drop-off. Never thought about that. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to see us tighten up on who participates in that. I would like to make sure that it's the ratepayers that are paying for that are participating. I understand about the greater good and whatnot, but I think that there are folks out there that are, why is somebody coming from another jurisdiction and using something that I'm paying for? So that's all I would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably no surprise, but I'll respectfully disagree with Councilmember Marriott on the comment about this being a failure. I was on the Sustainability Advisory Committee before we passed this in 2020, and we did quite a significant amount of research, and there was some previous studies done for the city looking at our diversion rate, and I do believe it was as low as 6% at one point. And so getting up to around 13 now, and even as high as 20, and you look at the other cities around us that are just doing recycling and trash, that is a very comparable rate to see an increase of that. Now, you're going to get a much higher diversion rate to that 35% or higher if you add compost, because a large percentage of what we're putting in our trash is organic material that could be composted and diverted. So I support comments by Councilmember Pfeiffer about really seriously looking at how we could add composting to our program, and so that would be the one to address one of your questions there. I think exploring all the options still that you went through tonight and just seeing what's going to make the most sense for us to keep those on the table. The comment again about the producer responsibility, I will respectfully disagree. It is not a tariff. This program that we are modeling after here in the state of Colorado is a program that countries around the world have been doing for decades, and economic studies have shown that it's a fraction of a penny on each product that the customer would see, but really would not see. I mean, there are many other impacts on costs, as we all know, and inflation, and it's not from producer responsibility programs, and we have seen over decades in other countries. So we are not expecting the consumer to see that, but I do want to get to your question about the contract in my comment earlier. I think it's really, really important weighing our options on what to do with the contract and when to renew it, to really factor in that producer responsibility program to make sure we're capturing all that benefit that will be coming from the state program, and making sure that we are not double costing our customers, and making sure that they are getting the relief from that program being covered for recycling. So that is extremely important, and so I'm going to withhold my recommendation on what we do with the contract until I get more information on what you find out about, what can we do in terms of producer responsibility with the current contract, or is it our legal advice from our legal team best to start with a new contract to make sure we capture those benefits? So that would be my one big thing that I would be looking for. And I already talked about composting on number 2, make sure we're exploring those options. I think for the minimum service opt-out fee on number 3, I think either maintain our current practice. I'm open to reallocating the increases to service customers, but I certainly don't want to see us lowering that fee, because that is important to our program. So thank you.
Councilmember Rupert.
Thank you. First, one of the pitches for this program was that would also reduce the number of trucks running up and down the streets every week, and I think there's no question that the answer is that it has, and so I consider that to be one of the successes of the program. Regarding the other issues, one, barring new legislation, I think we ought to stick with the contract we've got. I'd be really surprised if in the inflationary environment we've been living in the last couple of years that we haven't far outstripped the 3.5%. And so I would keep the contract unless you bring us with new information on legislation that would dictate otherwise. I would keep the current contract regardless of the composting issue, simply because of the cost savings that are our community's enjoying, I think. And then finally, I would not lower the minimum service fee. I don't think I would increase it. I don't think that those who are not partaking in the service need to have any sort of increase if they're going to continue to not participate in the service. But again, it's a nickel a nickel a month, so it's not a large expenditure. Those are my answers.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, my crack at the apple now. So I tend to agree with with Councilmember Rupert about item number 1. You know, I'm loath to give up the 3.5% again. As I mentioned earlier, this is pegged to a 2019 negotiated rate. This is pre-pandemic. We had no idea what was coming our way with everything. And so we've seen significant rates of inflation. We talk about this every single year, and every single year we have been a part of this. We have fallen below the national rate of inflation as pegged by the waste hauling index. And so with that, I look at that gap and I'm a little concerned. We do have an apples to apples comparison because Broomfield just passed their program in December, 3 months ago. And so I don't know their exact rates. I was told them. I believe they are comparable to ours, maybe just a little north of ours, if I'm not mistaken. I would love to have that rate because, you know, the team over there is an awesome team. They do a great job. I know they have awesome negotiators who put in a lot of work. So we can have that apples to apples with a very similar community to ours on what they were able to find in the open market right now and how it directly compares to ours. In terms of composting, you know, obviously, as I noted earlier, clearly what's offered within the contract for a subscription model could be cheaper than what is available on the current market. I do like potentially the option of allowing it to be a threshold. People can sign up, and when we hit that 3,000 or whatever the number may ultimately be, then it triggers, and those folks have the option to continue forward at that time, and they know when they're signing up about that. But definitely open to considering what all that looks like. I look forward to the team's recommendation, but again, I'm not really open to losing the contract, and I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Moorman about seeing what's happening with the state with a couple of these things about that. And then adjusting the minimum service fee. I tend to agree with Councilmember Pfeiffer on this one. I've personally struggled with this one as well for a long time, but Councilmember Ambrose is absolutely right. One of the key reasons why we have such a high opt-out rate is because we set this at a lower price point and because with the collective bargaining power of the city and with the staggered rates, competition flooded in and they had to compete. I'd be very curious in our next presentation to know, because we had this in 19, what are the current rates in our neighboring cities, very like-minded cities, that are still fully private market, that do not have a city rate. Because I recall stories when ours came out and, you know, all the private haulers lowered their rates to stay competitive in Arvada. I remember stories of spikes in Westminster and Wheat Ridge and in Lakewood to subsidize our city for what we did. And so, I mean, we raised, or we lowered prices across the board for our constituents, which is kind of great. That was an unintended benefit, if you will, of the program. I'm glad it happened, and I'm glad people are capturing those savings. I want to make sure we continue to capture those savings. But in terms of the minimum service fee, I take some issue with it doesn't cost more to drive by your house. Who here thinks their car costs less or the same today as it did 5 years ago? No, cars cost more, equipment costs more, maintenance costs more, gas costs more, everything costs more across the board today. So operating a program just costs more today than it did 5-6 years ago. And so that's one of the things I look at, and I would be open to considering that, I mean, again, it's a nickel we're talking about here. Considering, you know, pausing it maybe for a year or whatnot, but I don't want to not continue to pass along the actual realized costs for a program. That's what I'm looking at. I don't want to, I agree with Councilmember Marriott. I do not want to excessively burden anybody. I want the actual realized costs and to make sure everybody's putting in their fair share. So with that, Does the team feel like they have what they need? I know we're a little all over the board here.
No, thank you. I think this is great feedback. We'll take it back as a team. Again, provide some options. I'm showing here some next steps of what you can expect to hear back from us. We've scheduled a series of workshops, so here's what this looks like. April 22nd, we're going to provide you the information you've asked for today. And if there's anything that you think of later or wasn't clear tonight, please let us know. We'll bring that back. I already mentioned the Waste Diversion Action Plan. As that is completed, we plan to share those results with you in a workshop. And in May, we'll also then start that iterative process of addressing any questions we heard in April, provide updated fee scenarios, and then clarify that direction of what you want to see for that June 3rd resolution. I definitely heard today that we want to see some comps for other cities, and so similar to what we do on our water sewer fees, we'll build out more comparisons of where we fall compared to others, not just for the minimum service fee, but for cart services as a whole.
Okay, perfect. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
So if I'm comparing to Broomfield, yes, we have a better deal. So I'll retract that. It's not with
We'll
Republic.
definitely
So
bring
glad you
forward
have your
that
computer.
comparison for a
So
more
I
complete
didn't-
picture.
Since this is all new for them. But I will say, I'm not a fan, why I changed my mind on this and not sharing that increase with the opt-out, I want to be clear on that. I mean, last year I was an advocate not to do that, but I also don't feel you should, because that nickel's going to show up on the service, the people that are doing it. So now we're going to go ahead and penalize them a little bit more because people want to be opt-out, and so, instead of sharing the love, they're just going to pick up more fees. I just think we're penalizing these people that are wanting to be in the program. Just a thought.
And thank you for looking that up.
All right. Thank you. I think we have what we need tonight. Any other questions from the team? Thank you for your time this evening.
All right, I appreciate it. All right. Great job, Ms. Rhodes and team, really and truly. All right. I will now close the workshop portion of this evening's agenda and open us for second public comment. This is the 5-minute limit. Is there anyone in chambers this evening who would like to give public comment at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment and I will open it to reports from City Council. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I just want to recognize Master Sergeant Bennington, who passed away recently. For those that, some of you on council may not have known who he is. He was our only Master Sergeant, if I remember right, and he was always everywhere in my eyes because I saw him. And he recently passed away, and he was, I think he was a dear member of the police department family, and I just wanted to recognize him and his contribution to our community. And that my condolences and prayers and thoughts go out to that family.
Thank you, absolutely. See no other council comments? Ms. Haley.
Good evening. As a reminder, we do not have a council meeting next week due to the National League of Cities Conference. Have fun, you two. And we'll see you all on March 18th for our next meeting. Thanks.
Ms. Morris.
Nothing from me, Your Honor.
All right, with that, we stand adjourned.